When UPS and FedEx deliver it, we pull it up on our computer screen and we know where everybody is. Now that's obviously hyperbole, except it makes a deeper point, doesn't it? You have this, every American today lives schizophrenically in two worlds. You live in a world where you demand accuracy, transparency, accountability, stunningly high levels of convenience. You have, every person in this room has an ATM card that applies to a worldwide system that is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, worldwide, anonymous, and stunningly accurate. And then you live in a world where public sector institutions fail because they're mired down somewhere between 1945 and 1960 in paper-based models with no reward for achievement, no cost for failure, no investment in IT, no redesign. I mean, if you tried to run a private sector company today on a 1952 model, it would go bankrupt by the end of the first day. Now, that's the scale of change I'm going to describe today. So I just want to be clear. And when you think about your next budget, and you think about your State of the State address, and you think about training the next generation of candidates through the RGA, if we're not talking about this level of change, then we're kidding ourselves. Now, what's exciting, I'll try to see if I can use this modern technology. So far, not doing very well. Okay, I'm obviously either doing the wrong thing or pointing in the wrong direction. You push the, oh, you push the green button. Okay, thank you. Didn't have a training session. Now, as I said earlier, I want to recommend to you that you go to FedEx versus federal bureaucracy, and you'll see this whole thing, and you'll see the scale of change we're talking about. I also want to suggest to you at AmericanSolutions.com, we have a workshop by Dennis Smith, who is the leading student of what Giuliani did in New York with CompStat, computer statistics, and what Bratton then took from New York to Los Angeles. New York is today the safest large city in the United States per 1,000 people. Los Angeles had a 75% reduction in crime. Los Angeles today is the second safest city in the United States. It is a systematic, deliberate use of evidence-based government. Dennis Smith is the leading student of that. He's at New York University. He did a workshop for us, which is available by video. Dennis has told me he's prepared to join American Solutions in early next year. We would like to teach a nationwide video course on how to use evidence-based government and how to learn the lessons of Giuliani and Bratton so that anybody can, because you can apply it not just to policing, but you can apply it to health, you can apply it to learning. It's a very powerful model. Elaine Kamarck, who was Al Gore's director of government transformation when she was reinventing government when they were in office, is now at Harvard. She did a workshop for us talking about the replacement of bureaucracy by modern systems of networking and communications. Steve Goldsmith, many of you know, was extraordinarily innovative mayor of Indianapolis and is now at Harvard. He did a workshop for us. And Governor Roy Romer, who had the, I think, very educational experience of spending 6.5 years as the head of schools in Los Angeles, which was a radicalizing experience, and is now the head of education in 08 for Bill Gates. Also did a workshop for us talking about the scale of change we need. All of those are available for free. They're online. They're at AmericanSolutions.com. Now, we have presentations where there are some 28 presentations on rethinking the health system that are also you can get either by going to American Solutions, which will bridge you over, or by going direct to healthtransformation.net. And Jim Frogue, who's here, Jim wants you to wave. Jim is in charge of our state projects and the various workshops we've done on Medicaid. And Governor Palente's been very, very helpful on that. Governor Blunt's been very helpful, and we're delighted to work with all of you on these ideas. The thing that's fascinating, if you go to AmericanSolutions.com, click on research. We have 6 national surveys, $428,000 worth of data. But these are surveys we designed to ask a set of questions very different than you get from the elite media. By 92-5, the American people favor long-term solutions instead of quick fixes. Now, on one level, that's obvious, and you say, well, it's just language. But again, all of you who are government leaders, language matters. If you offer a State of the State next year that says, here are a series of long-term solutions, because the quick fixes won't get us there, it's useful to know that you start with a 92-5 advantage psychologically, and the people are going to say, yeah, why aren't we fixing this for real and not playing around? Interestingly, by 67-15, people think it is important to move government into the 21st century. And it was very encouraging to us at American Solutions, because this was actually a gamble when we took this poll. We believe, and I sort of evidenced this recently in deciding not to run, that you cannot change this country from the White House down. We think that the fact that there are 513,000 elected officials in the U.S., and each of you can think about in your own state, school boards, county commissions, sheriff, judges. I mean, it's amazing the total number of, which is actually part of the great health of America, is that thousands of Americans have leadership roles in their local communities doing things. Well, the country agrees by 84-12 that you need to think about change in all 513,000, not just change in Washington or change in the governor's mansion. I think that's very important, because what we're trying to do at American Solutions is launch a movement, and what we're thrilled to be working with the Republican Governors Association about is to launch a movement that says there's an opportunity for citizens at every level to be engaged in implementing a process of change, and it's not just, you know, the governor or the legislature or the Congress or the president, but there's huge opportunity for people to be leaders in the community getting things done. Interestingly, and this will become an enormous shock to the New York Times editorial board, the American people favor bringing the ideas and systems of business into government by 74-16. Now, let me make one distinction here, because all of you are pretty sophisticated. We did focus groups, and it was very revealing. The American public does not trust business. So don't confuse this number. The American public thinks business is out to make a profit. And the American public thinks, since they're customers, business probably wants to make profit from them. And the American public believes some people will always be bad apples, and so they actually like government to play a very strong regulatory role. This is almost exactly Theodore Roosevelt republicanism from 1903. But they do believe that that drive to make a profit has led business to be dramatically better at delivering goods and services than government. So they'd like the best of business without the worst of business. This is not that they're pro-business, but they admire the efficiency, the effectiveness, the productivity of business. They want business to be monitored by government, but they don't want government trying to replace business. It's very, actually quite subtle when you do focus groups, how well the American people talk this out when you get them talking for a while. Now, this is one of the two places where I hope to make my largest contribution over the next 5 or 10 years. This country understands intuitively that science and technology matters. My personal estimate is that you're going to get 4 to 7 times as much new science in the next 25 years as we got in the last 25. Nobody understands what this means. 2/3 of it will come outside the U.S. Nobody anywhere understands this. It means you got to rethink continuous medical learning. It means you've got to rethink your approach on energy. You rethink your approach on the environment. You'll see this come up again in a minute. But this is huge stuff. What's intriguing to me, and again, this is a real gamble. We asked this just to see what would happen. By 88-7, the country agrees. There's an underlying intuitive belief in the United States that the world of the Wright brothers and Edison and Henry Ford hasn't disappeared. That the meaning of Bill Gates and Apple and others and the Nobel Prize and all that is that we continue to develop breakthroughs. At the Center for Health Transformation, for example, we are in the process with Senator Bob Kerrey of launching an Alzheimer's study group, and also with Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, to say, okay, if Alzheimer's is the largest threat the baby boom generation faces, if you're going to get 4 to 7 times as much new science, how would you accelerate the transition of that new knowledge into practice? And could you do it in a way that radically improved the quality of life of the baby boomers? And by the way, since it's $1.2 trillion federal projected expenditure over the baby boom generation, could you dramatically change the entire projection of federal spending? A topic I think Bobby and I first talked about when he was working at HHS a long time back. So I just want to encourage you, if you follow and you focus on science and you organize science advisors in your state and you develop things, you're actually doing it with a tailwind by 88-7. They also, by 91-8, would increase investment in science and math. Let me suggest to you, this is an enormous opportunity to start fundamentally changing the failed bureaucracies of education in this country. The country doesn't just want to throw the money away. The country actually wants product. But by 91